Hello. Today I am sitting with Pastor
Dennis Kletzing,
and we are sitting in the
Christ Reformed Church in Ruffs Dale.
Ruffs Dale. Very good. Thank you.
Pleased to meet
What
you.
is it? Nice to meet you too. We're meeting for the first time. What is the address of your church?
851 Route 31, Ruffs Dale, which is 2 words, Pennsylvania.
And it's right next to the Ruffs Dale post office.
Yes, it is.
Very good. And what are the times of your services?
We have church at 10:30. Our Sunday school kind of went through a phase when all of our kids graduated, moved away. So we're preparing to restart Sunday school again, but we're not quite there yet.
All right. And this is a beautiful, beautiful old building. It goes back to 1887.
Yes, it was built in 1887.
And it's just beautiful. It looks fresh and just well taken care of. And that just warms my heart to see that. 1887. If these walls could talk.
Yes, the walls could talk, exactly. Yes.
Now, I'm assuming you've not been here since 1887.
No, only 1998.
That's still a good long time.
Good
That's
long
26
time.
years.
Yes. It's a small church, and I was always a bivocational pastor. So when I came here, I worked in Pittsburgh as a magazine editor for a logistics company, so I've had kind of a varied background.
That's cool.
And I've been here since 1998. It's not the biggest congregation, but it is a very warm, united, and friendly group of people, I must say.
I don't doubt that one bit. So you worked for a magazine.
Well, I worked for a logistics firm that was headquartered in Pittsburgh, and they ran warehouses, distribution warehouses across the United States and Canada for major companies, manufacturing companies like Hershey's Candy and so on. They got so big. I edited their magazine for their employees, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then I retired when they sold themselves to FedEx.
I was wondering how you made the leap or the jump from doing that to being a minister.
Yeah, well, I did both, and it worked out rather well because that was just a 5-day-a-week job, and this was evenings and Saturdays and Sunday. And then when they sold themselves to FedEx, it was like, okay. They had different plans for the company, took it out, but actually it went from Pittsburgh to Warrendale. So, anyway.
Well, being that the average stay of a church pastor is just a few years, I think 3 or 4 years, you've been here 26, so I can ask you this question that I don't get to ask too many times, but has church changed in those 26 years? From your first day to today, has Christianity changed? And is that a good thing or a bad thing in the last 26 years?
Well, Christianity has changed. This church had a history in the old German Reformed Church, and that liturgy I was used to, and we kept the liturgy and the hymnal, which is still in print, and it's a very rich form of worship and liturgy and hymns. So we haven't changed. Society has changed around us, and I understand that. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad, but we felt that we had a ministry that our liturgy and our history were worthwhile preserving.
Oh,
so our church has not changed really that much, but we are relevant, we are warm, we are caring. So
those are all good things to be.
Yes.
Would you consider your church a conservative church or a liberal church?
Conservative.
And if I were to come here on a Sunday morning, what could I expect? Or do you sing the modern hymns, the old hymns? What do you like to preach on? Do you preach out of some sort of liturgical calendar, or do you just preach what God puts on your heart?
Well, we use traditional hymns because the hymnal was quite old. 40s, I think it was put together. We do have a gospel song book that we use as well. Contemporary, not so much. I mean, although we do have like a church picnic, and my grandkids, they play and sing, so we sing a lot of contemporary things there, so it's a lot of fun. But as far as my preaching goes, we follow the normal church year, with Advent and Epiphany, Lent, Easter, and then the rest of the time is just the open church year. But I usually do book studies. I will start a book and we'll preach through that during the during the liturgical part of the year, no, it's usually more topical sermons that fit in with whether it's Lent or Easter or Pentecost. But yeah, and our services are about an hour long. I try to keep my sermons down.
Sometimes that's impossible. You got to make your point, or you wasted everyone's time.
Yeah, nobody has told me to keep it shorter. Not even my wife, and that's like, and she's my most honest critic.
Speaking of your wife, you're a family man. So
yes.
How long have you been married?
We've been married, 1970. So what is
54 years?
54 years, yes.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
and
thank
congratulations to your dear wife.
Yes, we have 3 children. My oldest daughter, married, no children. She lives in the area. She's a florist and Ligonier. And my son, middle child, he lives quite close by, has 5 children. The grandchildren are all growing up, becoming adults, so we can't treat them like kids anymore. And my youngest daughter lives in Baden, she and her husband, and they're hoping to start a family soon. First 2 kids were close together, and the youngest one came.
In her own time.
In their own time, yes. So, and then, 11 years ago, my dad passed away, and my mother came and lived with us. So she just passed away a year ago.
Oh my!
And we had her for 10 years, and it was good. She always worshipped here, and she died when she was 94.
I was just going to ask that question.
She died when she was 94, and she missed 2 months. The last 2 months of her life, she wasn't able to come to church.
That's
but
quite.
The rest of the time, she was here. It's just amazing.
That's quite a testimony.
Yes, it is. She was great, and my grandson, oldest grandson, is in elder care, so we kept her at home, had hospice, and he helped us every day take care of her. It brought tears to your eyes. It's like, this man has a gift to work with older people. Not that many kids do. So we were blessed. We were blessed with having my mother. We're blessed with the grandson helping. So.
Well, God supplies.
Supplied, yes.
Yeah, he absolutely supplies.
So that's our family.
Now, being that you've been in the ministry 26 years, do you think being a pastor has gotten easier over those 26 years, or have things gotten more complicated and harder?
About the same. I mean, people always have issues why they don't come to church, or they have other issues, and you try to find out who the people are in town, or people who are friends or related to your congregation that you can help minister to them. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say it's gotten any more difficult. Just that some people are afraid sometimes to share with you that their problems. I mean, I've done a lot of counseling, and it's not necessarily that those people came to church, but I've seen people that I've counseled pick up their life, and maybe they're in another church, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because I was sort of like helping them in a transition. They went through a hard time. I helped them, and they went to another church. It's like, well, that's great. They went into a church where they live. So I think I'm very thankful for that. I enjoy doing that. I mean, during the pandemic, I did counseling via telephone. I used to spend a couple hours a week, but it was still great doing that.
I hope we never go back to that.
No, I hope we never go back to that either.
It seems, it was only 4 years ago, yet it seems so far away and so far removed. We kind of just settled back into our old routines.
Yeah, and when we couldn't worship here because of the pandemic, the Methodist Church, just up the road from us, they conducted an outdoor service, and they invited us to participate. So we worshiped with them every Sunday, sat in our cars. They had a PA system set up, and it was wonderful. We shared the faith.
Right.
And so they accommodated us. In fact, when our church had a fire in 2018, they invited us up, and they said, why don't you have your service here at this time, and we'll meet at this time? And they never charged us anything.
Well, that's wonderful.
It was just like, we knew everybody, they knew us, and it was, have things changed?
Amen.
Well, that hasn't changed.
Shout out to them, and God bless you for doing that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was really great.
Do the Sundays come any faster after 26 years? Do the weeks fly by?
As you get older, everything seems to move faster.
I agree with that.
Everything seems to move faster.
The one thing, not that I'm going to go to heaven and question God, but I'd like to know why there are only 7 days in a week. 8 or 9 would be much better. Especially as a pastor, you're always thinking of the next Sunday. You're always thinking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm always, writing things down. Well, this might be a starting point, something like that. And of course now, after all these years, my wife is the organist.
Oh,
and
nice.
I said, you pick out the hymns.
One less thing you have to worry about.
One less thing I have to do. So the hymns go wrong, it's your fault.
I assume you've been preparing your people for Easter Sunday.
Yes.
Do you have any Good Friday services, anything?
We do have a Good Friday service, Good Friday at 7 o'clock.
Well, that'd be a good time to come out and investigate the church.
Yes, yes, it would be. And Easter Sunday, if you don't have any place to go, we have a really nice service, and we enjoy the fellowship.
Amen. Well, as we come to the end of this interview, I'm just going to hand the camera over to you.
Okay.
Anything you want to give the people, an encouraging word or your favorite Bible verse, just anything you'd like to say, the floor is yours.
Okay. Now my mind is a blank.
I guess I should have gave you some warning.
I never have failed to have anything to say in a sermon. No, as any pastor knows, after being in the ministry for a long time, you have ups, you have downs, you have disappointments, you have tragedies. And yet, the more I go along, I look back and I say, why am I stressed over the future? Because the Lord has brought me through every crisis that I thought, how will he ever bring us through this?
Amen.
And then a year later you say, how did we get through that?
The Lord has a good track record.
It's a good track record.
But somehow we forget that the Lord has a good track record.
That's exactly right. And I thought, well, that's the thing I've learned is just ease off. God's got it under control. I don't know how he's going to work things out, but he always does.
Yes, he does.
And it's always a surprise. It's always something that comes out of nowhere. Right. And you think, well, I didn't see that. And you try to plan things out for God. You say, God, here are the choices you have.
Yeah, right.
To solve this problem. Right. Now, which one is it going to be? And it's usually none of the above. And that always amazes me. And my wife says, see, you shouldn't worry. And I said, yeah, well.
Yeah, easier said than done.
Easier said than done. Yes, because you not only worry about your family, but you worry about your church family.
Absolutely.
All the problems that they're going through, and you think, how can I help? It's like you do what you can, and God does the rest.
Right.
You turn them over to God, and you pray with them and for them, and you do as much as you can, and then you find out that God was working in their lives or bringing something into their life to help solve this that you didn't know about, and thinking, okay.
Amen. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you.
That went very quickly.
Yes, it did.
And I appreciate meeting you, and it's been a wonderful time together. And until next time, God bless.